Snow was falling so hard, the mountain disappeared. Under a frozen pine tree, a mother tiger was buried alive beneath the snow. Only her paw was visible. And two tiny cubs were trying to dig her out with their little paws. But the storm wasn't stopping. If help didn't come soon, she wouldn't survive. High in the silent mountains, beneath a giant pine tree, a mother tiger had built a small shelter for her two cubs. Winter was harsh, but she was strong. She hunted. She protected. She kept them warm. But that night, everything changed. The wind began to howl. Snow started falling harder than ever before. Within minutes, the calm forest turned into a white nightmare. The blizzard roared through the mountains, shaking trees and burying everything in its path. The mother tiger tried to shield her babies. She pushed them toward the rocky side of the tree for protection. But then, a heavy wave of snow from the hillside collapsed down. The force knocked her down. Snow covered her body. Thicker, heavier, colder. Soon, she stopped moving. Only one paw remained visible above the snow. The cubs didn't understand. They circled her. They cried. They pawed at the snow with their tiny legs. They tried digging her out. Again, and again, and again. But their little bodies were too weak. The storm was too strong. The snow kept falling. One cub lay beside her paw, crying softly. The other looked toward the distance, as if searching for help. And then, both cubs made a decision. They left their mother, for the first time ever. They ran through the storm. Through deep snow. Through freezing wind. They kept moving, until they saw smoke rising from a small wooden cottage. Inside that cottage lived an old woman. She had lived alone in those mountains for years. When she opened her door to check the storm, she saw two tiger cubs sitting at her feet. Shivering, crying, not attacking, not growling, just desperate. One cub gently touched her shoe with its paw. The other looked into her eyes. The woman felt something was wrong. Very wrong. She whispered softly, "Show me." The cubs turned, and slowly began walking back into the storm. The old woman didn't hesitate. She grabbed a thick shovel, wrapped herself in heavy wool, and followed them. The path was brutal, snow up to her knees, wind cutting her face. But the cubs kept looking back to make sure she was still there. After several painful minutes, they reached the pine tree. The old woman froze in shock. There she was, the mother tiger, buried in snow, only her paw visible, her body still, her legs stiff. The cubs ran to her and began crying again. The old woman dropped to her knees. She began digging, slowly, carefully, her hands numb, her breath heavy. She cleared snow away from the tiger's face. Then her chest, then her legs. She rubbed the tiger's paws. She cleared space around her mouth. She kept digging, and digging, and digging. After several long minutes, the snow around the tiger loosened. The storm began to slow. The old woman gently pressed against the tiger's chest. "Come on." For a moment, nothing. Then, a small twitch. The paw moved. Then another. The tiger's chest lifted slightly. The cubs jumped forward. The mother tiger's eyes slowly opened. Weak, but alive. The blizzard began to calm. The wind softened, as if nature itself had decided to give her another chance. The old woman stood back slowly. The tiger looked at her. There was no anger, no aggression, only exhaustion and gratitude. The woman motioned gently. "Come." Slowly, the tiger stood, weak but breathing. The cubs stayed close to her. Together, they walked back toward the cottage. Inside, the woman lit a fire. She laid blankets near the warmth. She placed raw meat beside them. The tiger didn't attack. She simply lay down beside her cubs. They ate, then curled up together, covered in warmth, covered in blankets. The old woman sat nearby, watching them sleep peacefully. A wild family, saved by kindness. That night, the storm ended, but a silent bond was born. And sometimes, even the wildest hearts understand compassion. Even in the wild, love always finds a way.